Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. And earlier today we left off with Priest on our Scholomance Academy review series, and we will continue now with Rogue. Again, we're going to rate on a 5-star basis. 5 stars being a god tier card, auto included in every deck. 1 star being a garbage tier, or card you'd feel bad picking in Arena. And we will be reviewing both Standard and Wild so you get the perspective of what cards will be good in either format, or neither, you never know. So let's get going. First card we have here is a new Rogue secret, Plagiarize. 2 mana at the end of your turn. At the end of your opponent's turn, add copies of the cards they played to your hand. So you play it, they play a bunch of stuff, you theoretically get a bunch of stuff. I think this card is actually just the worst secret by far in Rogue. One thing that Rogue doesn't really have a problem with is drawing and generating cards. You got lackeys, you have the stealth package that draws cards. You just have so many ways of getting cards, and then you play this, you get some, but they're from your opponent, and a good chance it's not going to synergize with your deck or work particularly well, and then your hand's full of garbage. I just feel like 2 mana, get a bunch of garbage seems bad, so I can't see it. I mean, unless you want to punish greed, but then you get there. I just don't see it. I don't see it in any universe where this card is any good. I'm going to give it a 1 star in both Standard and Wild. Yeah, I mean, you're going to pick it off Ethereal Lackey or off of Hanar sometimes, but I don't think you're ever running this card. Next, we have Sharpening Sword. It's a 3 mana 1/4 weapon. After your hero attacks, gain +1 attack. Kind of reminiscent of the old Poison Blade, where it was 1 mana more and you had to hero power and you would add attack to your weapon. This is much better than that. You don't have to spend mana every turn buffing your weapon, but it's a slow burn. You play it on 3, you have to attack, you get 1 attack, which is after your attack. So it's a bit of a slow burn, but if you buff it and you get it going, you can do a lot of damage. So yeah, you kind of need to build your deck a little bit around it. You definitely need some weapon buffs, like Deadly Poison in particular. And I just don't really think it makes the cut. I don't think that aggro Rogue deck is going to surpass like Tempo Galakrond Rogue, and I don't think you run a card like that in this deck. It's not terrible, but it's not going to make the cut, in my opinion. In Standard, I'm going to give it a 2, and in Wild, you have Kingsbane. You just have Kingsbane. That weapon's almost always going to be better than any other weapon, unless it's really powerful, and I don't see it as that. So in Wild, I don't think you ever put this in your deck. I'm going to give it a 1. Next, we have Vulpira Toxin Blade, a new 3-drop for Rogue. 3 mana 3/3. When you play it, or when it's on the board, your weapon always has +2 attack. It's pretty good. You dagger on 2, you play this, you have a 3/2 dagger. And if it's not killed, you constantly have that aura effect. And it's a reasonably stated minion. It doesn't have that premium stat line of the 3/4, but pretty good. I just feel like Rogue has better 3-drops. You have the stealth package stuff, you have the invoke cards and miscreant. It's a very clogged up spot in Rogue, and I don't know if this is really what you want to be doing. I mean, it's fine, it's good, but again, I feel like it doesn't really make the cut in Standard, so I'll give it a 2. It's a good card, but I don't see it really fitting in. And in Wild, you could think about putting this in Odd Rogue, but again, the 3 spot there is also pretty heavily contested. You have Miscreant, you have Hench Clan and all that, and you got Pirates and things like that. The only thing is you always want to dagger on 2 with Odd Rogue for the most part, and this goes really well with that. So I think this actually might have a better shot in Wild and Odd Rogue, but I'm pretty skeptical of it. I'll give it a 3. I'm going to give it a 3 in Wild. I feel like you don't need to combo. Like one of the things like with Miscreant or some of the other 3-drop cards you need to combo. This you can just play it on 3 and you have a 4-attack weapon. And that's pretty relevant. So only in Odd Rogue do I think it's playable, and I'll give it a 3 there. Next, we have Shifty Sophomore. It's a 4 mana 4/4 stealth minion. Spellburst. Add a combo card to your hand, so it's random. Decent stats. Stealth's not bad. It's like pretty okay, but there's so many bad combo cards. There's so many bad ones, and you got a Spellburst to activate it, so you have to work for it. Rogue just has better stuff. I don't think you're ever playing this. It's not a terrible card, but I don't see you ever playing this in any Rogue deck for the most part. Like, there's that 2 mana combo card where maybe you play a combo card, add a combo card to your hand. Anytime I've gotten that randomly or whatever and tried to chin combo cards, you just get so many bad combo cards, and I just can't see this being worth putting in your deck. So I'll give it a 2 in Standard and 1 in Wild. I don't see where this ever sees playing Wild. Next, we have Cutting Class, 5 mana spell, draw 2 cards. That's pretty rough, but it costs 1 less per attack of your weapon. So if you have a 5 attack weapon, well, it's 0 mana draw 2. I feel like I'm harping on this a lot, but Rogue has a lot of good ways of generating cards and drawing cards. They have a 3 mana draw 2 with the stealth package. If you run dragons, you can have this 3 mana draw 3. I don't think Weapon Rogue's going to take off. With the stuff I've seen here, I don't think it's enough, and I don't think Cutting Class would make the cut. Sorry for the horrible pun. Again, not a bad card, but not good enough in my opinion. I'll give it a 2. In Wild, it's interesting with Kingsbane Rogue. You could consider it. You have Raiding Party, you have Myra's. You're probably going to run a 1-mana spell we'll talk about in a second, but you could justify running this because your Kingsbane is likely going to be 3 or 4 attack by like turn 3 or 4, and you draw this and you basically get draw 2. So I'll give it a more of a potential in Kingsbane, even though I still don't think it makes a cut there. I'll still give it a 2 in Wild as well. Next we have Coerce, 3 mana spell, destroy a damaged minion, combo, destroy any minion. So it's Execute for 3 mana. Unless you combo it, then it's an Assassinate for 3 mana. So once +1 mana on a relatively okay card, and -2 mana on a pretty bad card. What does that mean? It's not bad. It likely could see a bit of play. You might prefer this over something like Sap. Sap removes something and throws it back in their hand. It's better against Death Rattles, but this immediately just kills something. And if it's damaged, it kills something. And when you have all your lackeys and all that, it's not too bad. I think this could have a shot as maybe like a 1 of, or maybe even a 2 of. I don't know. It's a powerful card. It's relatively powerful, especially in Rogue. I think less so maybe in Warrior, but we'll get to that. I'm going to give it a 3 for Standard. I think it could pop up in some lists. I don't see how it's particularly bad or anything like that. And in Wild, you could run this in Odd Rogue, and you only really have Vile Spine for an Execute. But again, combo is harder to activate in Wild, but I'll give it a 3 there too. It might see play in Odd Rogue. It's just a very powerful card. It has potential. But I could easily see this just not popping up. We'll have to see when it's experimented with, but good card for sure. Next we have Brain Freeze, 1 mana spell, freeze a minion combo, also deal 3 to it. This card seems really powerful, especially in Rogue. You give Rogue freeze effects when you have Questing Explorers and Edwin Van Cleefs, and you can just get this out for cheap. And the combo aspect, 1 mana deal 3 is very powerful. Just a really good card. I think this is a very good Rogue card. And you get off you throw Lackey in the clutch situations too. I'm going to give this a 4 in Standard. And in Wild, it could run in Odd Rogue. I don't know if you'd want to freeze stuff, but the 1 mana deal 3 is pretty relevant. I'll give it a 3 in Wild. You might put this into Odd Rogue as well. It's just a very good card, and yeah, giving freeze to Rogue. And Rogue is like freeze in the past, like Shadow Step and Glacial Shard, for other reasons, but I think it'll see play. I think it's a very good card. Next, we have Potion of Illusion. 4 mana spell. Add 1/1 copies of minions to your hand. They cost 1. So you can do, like, Miscreant stuff, Lackey stuff, some synergistic stuff, Togwoggle, maybe be greedy with some Death Rattles with Ankar. This is a very expensive, greedy card, and I don't think Rogue can really afford to do that. They're so good at the tempo game. They're so good at it. And I feel like this is a card you might get creative with off an Ethereal Lackey once in a while, but I see a lot more potential with this in Mage. I don't see it in Rogue. I'm going to give it a 2 in Rogue in Standard, and I'll give it a 2 in Wild, because there's a lot of greedy implications that might pop up in. Next we have Jandice Barav. It's a 5 mana 2/1 legendary minion. Battlecry, summon 2 random 5-cost minions, secretly pick one that dies when it takes damage. I think this is better off in Rogue than Mage, potentially, because you have Shadow Step. You have a lot more access to, like, Evolve Lackeys and effects like that. It might be just a good stat drop in Rogue. Like, the 5 spot is, like, Shield of Galakron, and that's literally it. So you might consider it. It's not bad. And especially like Highlander Rogue, if that's still a pretty decent deck, it will definitely run it. Yeah, it's just a good stat drop, and there's not a lot of it. And again, you have Shadow Step, Evolve Lackey. I think it'll see play. I'm going to give it a 3 in Standard. And in Wild, Odd Rogue probably gives this one a shot. They like it on 5, I think. And it could curve pretty well into Fungalmancer, too. You'd like coin Janus into Fungalmancer. Could be some pretty good stuff going on there. So I'll give it a 3 in Wild. Pretty good stat drop, and definitely not a bad card. Next, we have Secret Passage. This card just seems broken. It's a 1 mana spell. Replace your hand with 5 cards from your deck. Swap them back next turn. So basically, you know, you have like 4 or 5 mana. You don't have a play. You can just play this and hit a 3. And that's really good. And if you play like you know, you get some Lackeys. You play that. If you play it, you just YOLO look for Galakron and you hit Galakron. This card's just extremely flexible. Draw 5 and you can play whatever you want. And then they're put back in your deck. You get your hand back. Like, there's really no downside to it other than spending a mana to look for better plays. Like, it's just crazy good. It's absolutely crazy good. That's 5 stars in standard and wild too. Like you'd probably run this in odd rogue. Why wouldn't you? Kingsbane rogue could definitely justify it. You might just cut the Myras, but I don't. Card's crazy. It's just a crazy, insane card. Ridiculous power level. Definite 5 stars across the board. Holy crap. Next we have Dr. Krastenov, 5 mana rush minion. It's got 4/4 stats, and whenever this attacks, give your weapon +1/+1. I don't see Weapon Rogue being a thing. I don't see this card being good enough to bother. It's a good card, but in standard, I just don't see the Weapon Rogue thing. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't see it, so I'm going to give it a 2. In Wild, you probably throw this into Kingsbane Rogue. Why not? Like, you have green skin there, you can put this in there. It's not a pirate, you don't draw it with Raiding Party, but it's still an incredibly good, versatile card. It's a weapon buff that's proactive. Like, that's insane. So, in Wild, I'm going to give it a 4. Like, there's uses, like, you can use it in Kingsbane. You could definitely run this in Odd Rogue, too. I don't see why not. Upgrade your dagger. It's really good. Yeah, it's a 4-star wild card. Really insane. And, yeah, nuts. And then we have Infiltrator Lillian. This is 4 mana, 4/2 stealth minion. Death Rattle, summon a 4/2 that attacks a random enemy. So you get a 4 mana, 8/4. That's pretty good. And it's stealth, so you can't interact with it. That's pretty good. And you have a Death Rattle that's proactive. That's really good. This card is just really good. It's aggressive. You can dictate trades because you can't interact with it. You have your stealth synergies. I think this card will see a lot of play in standard for sure. Yeah, very good. I'm going to give it a 4. Like, you don't even need to run the stealth package for this card to be good, but you're probably going to want to. Just a very aggressive, really frustrating minion to deal with. In Wild, you can't play an Odd Rogue. You're not going to play this in Kingsbane Rogue. And the only other archetype that's really out there is Highlander, and I don't think you're putting in that. I just don't think you play this in Wild, but it's a good card, so I'll give it a 2. But yeah, very scary, aggressive rogue minion. Next, we have Steel Dancer. It's a 4 mana, 4/4 Battlecry. Summon a random minion with cost equal to your weapon's attack. So this is the card to me that would kind of push Weapon Rogue to work, because you play your Scimitar on 3, or you buff your weapon on 3 with Deadly Poison, and then you play Steel Dancer, and you get either like a 4-drop, a 3-drop, on top of a 4/4, which is pretty good. I just feel like that type of game plan is just not good enough. I feel like there's better stuff in Rogue. I just feel like all of the Galakrond stuff to me feels better. This is more aggressive, but you have to draw a weapon and do all that stuff. If you don't get your weapon buffs in time, this is a terrible turn 4 play. So, for that reason, I'm going to give it a 2. I just think there are better things to do in Rogue. If there weren't, it'd probably be a higher mark. And in Wild, I don't think you're doing anything with this. Even with Kingsbane, I feel like it's too inconsistent. But maybe it'll be close. I'll give it a 2 there. Lastly, we have Wand Thief. 1 mana, 1/2 dual class minion combo. Discover a Mage Skull. This card, you're running this card. This card's stupid. I mean, look at Pharaoh Cat. You run it. This you can't play on 1, so it's a little bit worse in that regard. But you have all the lackeys. You have Backstab. You have Shadow. You have so many ways of activating this. And then you get to discover a Mage Spell, which can be incredibly powerful a lot of the time. And if not, you got some value. And it's just nuts. This card's nuts. In Rogue, in particular, I just think it's crazy. I'm going to give it 5. Like, it's going to be pretty much an auto-include, I think, in every Rogue deck, just like Pharaoh Cat and all that stuff. And then for Wild, you can run this in Odd Rogue. I don't think you're running it in Kingsbane Rogue, and you can do, like, cool Burgle stuff Rogue, but those decks aren't very good, so I'm not going to give it a high mark because Burgle Rogue, because it's just not very good in Wild. It's a good team. You can keep playing that. But in Odd Rogue, it's a lot clunkier. You can't play it on 1. It's harder to combo. But I think it might still pop up there. I still think it will. So I'll give it a 3 for Wild, but in Standard, this card is like the nuts. So there you go. That's all the Rogue cards. They get some really good stuff. Secret Passage is nuts. Couple of good value generators, the legendaries. There's some Rogue is still going to be really good, and you might see why they wanted to tone it down with the Galakrond nerf recently. So let me know in the comments below. Do you agree, disagree with my ratings? It's been really interesting reading the comments. A lot of people disagree with a lot of stuff, and it's really cool to hear that perspective. And sometimes I've changed my mind on a couple things, but I can't take back my reviews, so we'll see how things going forward. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. We'll have another one soon, so make sure you hit that notification bell to keep notified. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.